I think an interesting starting point is like really looking at the landscape and seeing how many different variations of it that there are. So,
Yes.
you talk about, you got words like streaming, PVOD, theatrical. So, and in some cases, movies kind of touch all three, like Barbarian being an example that does hit all three because it was theatrical, it's on PVOD, it's on HBO Max. Like it's kind of checking certain boxes in these
Yeah.
equations or these formulas that they seem to be toying around with to see what works the best, either across the board or for a certain kind of movie or a certain kind of release. But yeah, I mean, so we're talking about, movies that come out from the spectrum of a theatrical release that has like a truly protected window. Something like Top Gun Maverick most recently is the true exception to what seems to be becoming the rule, which is a movie that comes out and is in the theaters for like pretty much 3 full months, if not more, with no exposure digitally or online. So outside of a possible bootleg, a literal bootleg, you're talking about a movie that, gets that protected window, which is what it always was for the most part pre-pandemic, 90 days usually minimum. And, now we see these mixes of releases where, Universal, for example, has this program where, they can put a movie in theaters and based on how it performs opening weekend, they basically then get an option to either release it digitally in 17 days or to keep it in theaters for a longer run. I think it may be 30 or 45 days, whatever they decide. But, and then on the other side of the spectrum, you have these things that are just coming out straight to streaming and really kind of like the Pixar, Disney stuff, really it has sort of become, and maybe some of the HBO Warner titles like during the pandemic where they were doing the day and date releases, are kind of on that side of it where, some of those things are completely skipping a theatrical release, like a lot of the Pixar things had done, with the exception of Lightyear. And, then some of the Warner stuff was like day and date, where they would be in theaters in peak pandemic, really still, but then was coming out on HBO Max because they were trying to launch that platform. I think when we were talking about this, my gut tells me that it seems like movies that go straight to a streaming option, even if it's day and date, it does seem to really kind of hinder the performance of a movie box office wise. It doesn't necessarily mean that not a ton of people are seeing it. Like, I guess most recently, Halloween Ends was one of those that went day and date. It still had a really good opening, but then you see, it dropped massively in its second weekend, assuming that a lot of people probably watched it on Peacock or the digital platform or whatever it was on, I think.
Like and subscribe for more videos. Go to movieschmovie.com if you want the audio version.